I followed Lu Feng for 10 years. From 20 to 30, I dedicated the best years of my life to him as his personal assistant. I cooked for him, managed all his trivial matters, and gave up 3 promotion opportunities for him. Everyone said that I, Wen Shiyu, was incredibly fortunate to marry Lu Feng, the youngest commander of the Special Forces. But what I waited for was not a wedding dress. Instead, at the Army-wide commendation ceremony, he personally pinned the third-class merit, which should have been mine, on another woman's chest. At that moment, I laughed. That night, I called off the engagement and applied for a transfer to the most challenging frontier company in the country. He thought I was just throwing a tantrum. Wen Shiyu, don't be childish. Come back in a month, and I'll pretend nothing happened. He didn't know that once I left, I never intended to look back. Later, I heard that the arrogant king of soldiers was frantically searching the world for me, the recipient of the third-class merit for Red Blade Operation Comrade Su Qing. An impassioned voice came from the broadcast, and the spotlight swished down on Su Qing. She was wearing a brand new military uniform, her face filled with unconcealed joy and pride. Like a blooming sunflower, I sat in the audience, applause thundering, buzzing in my eardrums. My fingertips were icy cold, slowly tightening, digging into my palm. The Red Blade operation was a half-year-long border defense information technology project. For those 180-odd days, I led the technical team, writing code line by line, drawing blueprints page by page, burning the midnight oil. At the celebration banquet for the project's success, Lu Feng raised his glass and showed such a relaxed smile in front of me for the first time. He said, "Shiyu, thank you for your hard work. You deserve this third-class merit." I believed it. But now, the person standing on the podium, enjoying the supreme glory, is Su Qing. She is the daughter of the division commander, transferred here 2 months ago as a psychological counselor. Charming and lively, loved by everyone. She only came to the project team 3 times, each time to bring Lu Feng his favorite iced Americano. I raised my head and looked at Lu Feng in the center of the rostrum. He was wearing a crisp, woolen officer's uniform, the stars on his epaulets shining brightly. He personally picked up the golden military medal, bent down slightly, and carefully pinned it on Su Qing's chest. The distance was too far. I couldn't see his expression clearly, but I could see Su Qing looking up at him, her eyes as if filled with stars. I could also see the distance of less than half an arm between them when he adjusted the medal for Su Qing. Lu Feng has a very strong sense of personal space. He never allows anyone to get so close to him except me. For 10 years, I thought I was the only exception. So 10 years of dedication is not worth her smile. Wen Shiyu, you're such a joke. A chill ran from the soles of my feet straight to the crown of my head, and the blood in my whole body seemed to freeze in an instant. I laughed, silently, laughing until tears almost came out. The colleague next to me nudged my arm and whispered, "Sure you, what's going on? Isn't this credit yours?" "Yeah. Why did Commander Lu give the credit to Secretary Su? Didn't she just arrive?" I shook my head, my smile perfectly polite and standard. Following orders, the surrounding whispers gradually subsided. Yes, he is the commander, and his decision is in order. The meeting ended, and the crowd dispersed. Lu Feng was surrounded by a group of people, with Su Qing chattering beside him, making everyone around him laugh. Lu Feng's gaze swept through the crowd and landed on me. He seemed to want to say something, but only frowned slightly, and was eventually led away with the crowd. That look held a trace of taken-for-granted reassurance, as if to say, "You've always been sensible and should understand." I stood there until the hallway was empty. That medal, which should have been mine, felt like a burning needle, piercing my heart. All the grievances and unwillingness of the past 10 years were amplified infinitely at that moment. I returned to the apartment I shared with Lu Feng. Though called a home, it was more like his exclusive logistics base, day in and day out for 10 years. I managed everything for him here. His various honorary photos hung on the wall. His favorite military theories filled the bookshelf. And in the walk-in closet, his military uniforms and my casual clothes were neatly arranged on either side. Like two separate worlds. I walked into the walk-in closet and took out my small suitcase. I didn't have many belongings, just a few clothes and a few books. In 10 minutes, everything was packed. Finally, I opened the bedside table drawer, where a velvet box lay quietly. Inside was a simple diamond ring. He said, "Well, get married when this mission is over." I picked it up, caressed the cold ring surface, and then gently placed it on the bedside table. Having done all this, I took out my phone and sent a message to Lu Feng. No questioning, no arguing, just a few short words. Lu Feng, we're calling off the engagement. Then, I blocked all his contact information. Dragging the suitcase, I walked out of the house where I had devoted 10 years of my youth. Without a trace of nostalgia, the door clicked shut behind me, also closing the door on the first half of my life. When I submitted my transfer application, Director Wang of the political department was so shocked that he almost fell off his chair. Are you sure you're not mistaken? Transfer to Wind Blade Outpost. That's the most remote frontier outpost in the country. A godforsaken place, with conditions so harsh they'll wear you down to the bone. I calmly pushed the application form forward. Director Wang. I've thought it through very clearly. Director Wang stared at me like I was a monster. You and Lu Feng, aren't you getting married next month? What are you doing at this critical moment? We're over, I said. Director Wang froze, and the thermos cup in his hand fell to the ground with a clang, spilling hot water everywhere. Nonsense. Utter nonsense. He scurried around, tidying up. You two are model sweethearts in the military region. How can you just break up like this? Does Lu Feng know about this? This is my personal decision. It has nothing to do with him. My attitude was as firm as iron. Old Wang knew he couldn't persuade me, sighed deeply, picked up his pen, and signed my application form. Have you really thought this through? Once this application is submitted, there's no turning back. Thank you, Director. I gave a military salute and turned to leave. No turning back. Just what I wanted. The procedure went exceptionally smoothly, perhaps in everyone's eyes. I was just acting on impulse, going to the frontier to suffer for a few days, and would soon be crying and begging to come back. The day I left was a cloudy one. I was dressed in civilian clothes, pulling my small suitcase, standing at the entrance of the military district compound. A black SUV stopped in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Lu Feng's stern face. He looked at me, his brows furrowed, his eyes filled with impatience and a frustration I didn't understand. Get in the car, he said in a commanding tone. I didn't move. Wen Shiyu. I don't have time to play this push and pull game with you. His voice turned cold. Regarding the merit award, I didn't consider it thoroughly. Su Qing's father is coming to inspect next month, and this third-class merit is very important to her. You've always been generous. Why are you being so unreasonable this time? I looked at him and suddenly felt it was laughable. So, in his eyes, my 10 years of dedication, my expertise, and my hard work could all be sacrificed for his social niceties. My generosity was simply a matter of course. Commander Lu, I began, my voice so calm that even I was surprised. First of all, please call me Officer Wen. Secondly, my transfer is a normal work arrangement and has nothing to do with you. Finally, I wish you and Officer Sue all the best in your future endeavors. With that, I pulled my suitcase and turned to walk towards the taxi waiting by the roadside. Wen Shiyu. Lu Feng's voice held a hint of astonishment and anger. He pushed the car door open, got out, and grabbed my wrist. His hand was like an iron clamp, incredibly strong. What exactly do you want? He stared at me, like a lion being provoked. There's a limit to tantrums. Come back with me, and I can pretend this never happened. I looked at the hand holding mine. For 10 years, this hand had held me and led me, but at this moment, I only felt it was icy cold. I didn't struggle. Just raised my eyes and looked at him quietly. Lu Feng, have you ever thought about what you would do without me? He was stunned. What do you mean? Your stomach isn't good. You can only drink the millet porridge I cook in the morning. Your uniforms must be hung from left to right according to spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Your clivia plant that you've had for 5 years needs to be watered every 3 days. I counted off one by one the habits etched in my bones. Do you think anyone else can do that besides me? His expression changed, and a flicker of panic flashed in his eyes. For years, my presence has been like air, silent and invisible, yet omnipresent. He had long grown accustomed to my care, so accustomed that he took it all for granted. Are you threatening me? There was a hint of danger in his voice. I laughed and gently pulled my hand away from his. No, I'm reminding you. I looked into his eyes, saying each word distinctly. From today onward, all of this has nothing to do with you, Wen Shiyu. I didn't turn back, opened the car door, and got in. As the car started, Lu Feng's figure grew smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. He stood there, his straight military uniform appearing somewhat lonely against the gloomy sky. He probably thought I was just throwing a tantrum and would soon wag my tail and come back begging him. He didn't know that when a tree has accumulated enough disappointment, it will uproot itself and never look back. From the military region headquarters to Wind Blade Outpost, it takes 8 hours on a military transport plane, followed by 4 hours in an off-road vehicle, and finally 2 hours of bumpy travel on rough mountain roads. When I stood in front of this legendary outpost with my suitcase, the setting sun was painting the distant snow-capped mountains a golden red. The wind was strong, cutting at my face like a knife, carrying a raw, rough atmosphere. The outpost was small, just a few rows of gray bungalows, and a 5-star red flag fluttering in the wind, looking particularly vibrant in the vast Gobi Desert. A young soldier in camouflage fatigues ran over, looking at me curiously. You're the new officer Wen? I nodded. I'm sure too. The company commander sent me to pick you up. He scratched his head and grinned. We haven't had a female comrade here for many years, especially one from headquarters. It's a rare sight. I followed him inside. The outpost was quiet, with only a few patrolling soldiers visible. All of them deeply tanned, but their eyes shone with remarkable intensity. The company commander's office door was open. I knocked on the door. Come in. A deep male voice sounded. I walked in. A man was standing with his back to me, in front of a huge sand table. He was tall, with broad shoulders, wearing faded fatigues that outlined his lean muscles. He turned around, and I was taken aback. He was young, probably in his late 20s, with healthy tan skin, deep-set features, and eyes as sharp as a hawk, but the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned in a cynical smile. You're Wen Shiyu. He looked me up and down, his gaze direct and unabashed. Report. Company Commander, Communications Technology Officer Wen Shiyu of the Reconnaissance Company, reporting for duty. I stood at attention and gave a standard military salute. He returned the salute, leaning lazily against the table. Lin Ran, Company Commander of the Wind Blade Outpost Reconnaissance Company. He was Lin Ran. Before coming, I had researched him. Lin ran from a military family. His grandfather was a founding general, and his father is the current Army Group commander. He himself was a notorious troublemaker in military school. After graduating, he voluntarily applied to come to this most difficult outpost and has stayed for 5 years. What brings the delicate flower from headquarters all the way out here? He raised an eyebrow, a hint of teasing in his voice. Roughing it. I didn't answer, just looked at him calmly. Lin Ran seemed to find it a bit boring. He waved his hand. All right, Stone. Take her to the dorm. Our conditions here are basic. Don't want to let the headquarters flower freeze. My dorm was at the far east end. A small single room with just a wooden bed, a table, and a cabinet. That was it. Outside the window was an endless expanse of the Gobi Desert barren, yet vast. That evening, the outpost held a simple welcoming party. A bonfire blazed on the Gobi, and the soldiers sat around it, roasting mutton and drinking heartily. Lin Ran, holding a guitar, sang a folk song I didn't recognize. His voice was hoarse, but with a kind of free and untamed quality. Little sister, boldly go forward. Go forward. Don't look back. The song drifted on the night wind. I wrapped my coat tighter and took a sip of the hot tea in my hand. Everything here was so different from headquarters. No fancy apartments. No perfectly ironed uniforms. No carefully managed relationships. Just wind. Just fire. Just a group of the purest soldiers. A young soldier, blushing, handed me a leg of mutton sizzling with oil. Officer 1, try this. Our team leader Lin makes the best roasted meat. I took it, thanked him, and took a bite. It was hot and fragrant. Lin Ran finished his song and sat down next to me, offering me a bottle of beer. Care for a drink? I shook my head. I don't drink. He didn't push it, but tilted his head back and took a big gulp himself, then looked at me, still thinking about him. I froze. 8 out of 10 of you from headquarters come here because of heartbreak. He chuckled, but his eyes were clear. But let me give you a piece of advice. It's not worth coming all the way out here for a man. I didn't come for a man, I said softly, watching the dancing flames. I came for myself. Lin Ran raised an eyebrow, seeming surprised. He stared at me for a few seconds, then suddenly smiled. Interesting. Then they'll be watching to see what kind of flower you, this delicate one from headquarters, can bloom into at our wind blade outpost. With that, he stood up and walked back to the bonfire, joining the laughter and chatter of the soldiers. Looking at his back, I felt for the first time that coming here might have been the right decision. My job at Windblade Outpost was to maintain the communications equipment and analyze data. The equipment at the outpost was old, mostly models that had been phased out at headquarters, and prone to frequent breakdowns. For the first week, I was immersed in the communications room. It was like a junkyard, filled with disassembled parts and dusty circuit boards. I checked all the equipment, classified it, and made detailed records and troubleshooting plans. The soldiers were initially skeptical of this parachuted female cadre, but after seeing me emerge from the machine room every day, face covered in grime, hands stained with machine oil and solder, their expressions gradually changed. The turning point came on a snowy, blizzard-swept night. That night, the wind howled like wolves. Heavy snow blocked the mountain, and our contact with the outside world was almost completely severed. Suddenly, the remote radar monitoring system of the watchtower issued a piercing alarm, and a flurry of snowflakes flickered on the screen. What's going on? Lin Ran was the first to rush into the communications room, his face ashen. Report. Company commander. Radar signal interrupted. Possibly a line fault caused by the blizzard. Sure 2, the one on duty, was sweating profusely with anxiety. This radar system was our eyes. Once it failed. In weather like this, we were blind. If foreign elements were to infiltrate at this moment, the consequences would be unimaginable. Repair team, go check the lines immediately. Lin Ran roared. It's no use. Company commander, the snow is too heavy. No one can get up the mountain. The communications room was silent. Everyone helpless. I squeezed to the front of the host, quickly scanning the background data stream. It's not an external line problem, I said, my voice not loud, but exceptionally clear in the quiet room. The C3 module of the core processor is overloaded, causing the data stream to crash. All eyes were on me. Lin Ran looked at me. Are you sure? Yes. I pulled over the keyboard, my fingers flying across it, bringing up a series of complex codes. Look here. The data is normal before entering the C3 module, but the output end is all garbled. The problem lies here. An old technician frowned. The C3 module is the encryption core. Moving one part affects the whole. None of us dare to touch it. And it's an old model from 10 years ago. Headquarters can't even find spare parts. No need to replace it, I said, picking up the screwdriver and soldering gun from the side. Give me 10 minutes. Under everyone's doubtful gaze, I opened the host case. I was too familiar with that small C3 module. 10 years ago, for my graduation design at the National University of Defense Technology, one worked on the optimization algorithm for this system. At that time, I proposed a bypass design scheme, but it was rejected by my supervisor because it was too radical. Never thought that 10 years later, it would come in handy here. I took a deep breath, carefully melting 3 connecting wires with the soldering gun, and then rebuilt a miniature circuit with a spare copper wire. My hand was very steady. Steady for someone who hadn't touched a soldering gun in 10 years. Those knowledge and skills that I had once sealed away for Lu Feng. At this moment, all awakened. Okay. I closed the host cover and pressed the restart button. Everyone held their breath. The computer made a soft sound. The screen flickered a few times. And then, a clear radar scan image reappeared on the screen. It's back. The signal is back. Sure Two shouted excitedly. A thunderous cheer erupted in the communication room. Lin Ran walked up to me, looked at the stable data stream on the screen, then at my hands covered in oil. His expression complex. He said nothing, just patted me on the shoulder. The next morning, Lin Ran called me into his office. He pushed a file folder in front of me. I re-examined your file, he said, the previous teasing gone from his voice. Information Engineering College of the National University of Defense Technology. Top of your class. Core engineer of the Red Blade project. Wen Shiyu. What exactly are you doing at headquarters? Inside the file folder was a picture of me from 10 years ago. The girl in the photo was wearing a graduation gown, smiling confidently and radiantly, her eyes shining. I looked at that photo for a long time, speechless. Yes. What have I been doing? I was learning to make soup, to arrange flowers, learning how to be a perfect housewife. Without a self. I almost forgot that I was once that spirited girl who wanted to change the world with code. The past is the past, I said softly, closing the file folder. Commander, I'm applying to join the Qishao project team. The Qishao project is a high-altitude drone reconnaissance project that Phone Blade Post is working on, and it has been stalled for almost half a year due to technical bottlenecks. Lin Ran looked at me, his eyes showing genuine appreciation for the first time. Good. He stood up and extended his hand to me. Welcome back to the team, Engineer Wen. I shook his hand. His palm was large, warm, dry, and full of strength. In the first month after I left headquarters, Lu Feng's life descended into chaos. In the morning, he could no longer drink the perfectly heated millet porridge. The breakfast brought by the orderly was cold soy milk and fried dough sticks. And he got a stomach ache after one bite. When he went to the cloakroom to change his clothes, he found all the military uniforms piled up in a wrinkled mess. It took him half an hour to find one that was neatly ironed. When he got to the office, the desk was piled high with files waiting to be processed. He then remembered that in the past, these files would be categorized by me, prioritized according to their urgency, and accompanied by summaries. Now, he had to read them one by one, making him feel dizzy and overwhelmed. At an important military exercise rehearsal meeting, he was publicly criticized by the chief of the general staff for an error in the data in a report. That data was something I had stayed up for 3 nights helping him verify. After the meeting, his adjutant cautiously reminded him, "Commander, your schedule for next week." Lu Feng interrupted impatiently. "Do I have to teach you this? Do it according to the old rules." The adjutant looked embarrassed. "But it was Officer Wen who arranged everything before. Her work log is password protected, and we can't open it." Lu Feng's face darkened instantly. He realized for the first time that the name Wen Shiyu was like an invisible web, already permeating every corner of his life. He became irritable and easily angered. People in the base felt that their commander had become a walking powder keg lately, ready to explode at the slightest spark. Su Qing still brought him coffee every day, chattering about the interesting things happening at the base. He used to find it lively. Now, he just found it noisy. "Brother Lu, what's wrong? You seem to be in a bad mood lately." Su Qing placed the coffee on his desk, asking with concern. Lu Feng looked at the coffee and suddenly asked, "Can you make millet porridge?" Su Qing was stunned. "Huh, millet porridge. Never mind." Lu Feng waved his hand. "You can go now. I have work to do." Su Qing left, feeling aggrieved. Lu Feng picked up his phone, instinctively wanting to dial that number he knew by heart. But the screen displayed a message. "The other party has blocked you." Only then did he remember. I blocked him. A nameless fire surged in his heart, and he slammed the phone to the ground. The phone screen shattered. He started using his connections to find out where I had gone, but my transfer had gone through a special procedure and was classified as confidential. The more he couldn't find out, the more panicked he became. He tasted the feeling of losing control for the first time. Wen Shiyu, who had always followed behind him, always gentle and obedient, had vanished from his world as if she had evaporated. He started having insomnia, staring blankly at the empty half of the bed all night long. He couldn't understand why she reacted so strongly to just a third-class merit citation. She wasn't like this before. He remembered the question I asked him before I left. "Lu Feng, have you ever thought about what you would do without me?" At the time, he thought it was a joke. Now, he realized that he really didn't know what to do. A month later, the deadline he had mentioned arrived. He waited all day, but he didn't receive my call. Nor did I show up. He finally realized that I wasn't just throwing a tantrum. I really didn't want him anymore. A huge panic seized him, like a mad beast trapped in a cage. He finally put down his ridiculous pride and started searching the world for me. The full name of Fengren Post's Crimson Sky Project is the Plateau Long Endurance Unmanned Reconnaissance Aircraft Project. The goal is to develop a drone capable of conducting continuous reconnaissance for more than 72 hours in extreme environments such as high-altitude hypoxia, low temperatures, and strong winds. The project had been stalled for half a year, with the main technical bottlenecks being energy and flight control algorithms. On my first day joining the project team, Lin Ran gave me the highest authority. The members of the project team were all veteran technicians, and although they didn't say it, they were all skeptical of this young female officer. I didn't explain, and directly requested all the experimental data from the past 6 months. I stayed in the computer room for 3 days and 3 nights, recalculating all the data models. On the morning of the fourth day, with dark circles under my eyes, I walked into the conference room with a brand new design proposal. "I think we've been heading in the wrong direction," I said, cutting to the chase. "In high-altitude environments, traditional lithium battery power solutions experience a performance drop of over 40%. We should abandon single-source energy and switch to a solar solid-state hydrogen hybrid power mode." "Nonsense," the project team leader, an old engineer named Lee, immediately retorted. "A hybrid power system will add at least 30% to the weight, seriously affecting the drone's aerodynamic layout and flight time. The weight issue can be solved by optimizing the flight control algorithm." I turned on the projector, and an extremely complex fluid dynamics model appeared on the screen. "I've designed a completely new bionic flight control algorithm that mimics the gliding posture of eagles in the highlands. It can maximize the use of updrafts, reducing energy consumption during gliding to near zero. This way, the extra weight can be completely offset by the energy saved." The conference room was silent. Everyone was stunned by the intricate algorithm model on the screen, which resembled a work of art. Engineer Lee opened his mouth, wanting to refute, but couldn't utter a word, because he knew that, in theory, this plan was perfect. "Anyone can talk on paper," a young technician muttered quietly. "Can the simulated environment really be the same as the actual situation? Then let's try it." Lin Ran's voice rang out. He had been standing at the door, listening for who knows how long. He walked in, looking at me with burning eyes. "Whatever support you need, people, equipment, funding, just name it." I looked at him and nodded. "I need the best machine tool in the outpost. Anne, you have to let me borrow your precious darling." Lin Ran's Precious Darling was a German-imported 5-axis linkage machining center with an accuracy of 0.001 millimeters. It was the only one in the entire Northwest military region, and he usually couldn't bear to use it himself. Lin Ran smiled. "No problem. From today on, it's named Wen." For the next 2 months, I practically lived in the lab. I led the project team to redesign the drone's fuselage, optimize the layout of the solar panels, and personally process the core valve of the solid-state hydrogen fuel tank. The most difficult part was still the writing and debugging of the flight control algorithm. Countless nights, Lin Ran and I, each with a cup of strong tea, sat in front of the computer, repeatedly deducing line after line of code. He didn't understand the technology, but he could always offer some whimsical yet insightful questions from a commander's perspective when I got stuck in a rut. "Shiyu, if this drone was your soldier, what would you want it to learn first on the battlefield?" "Survival." "That's right. Don't always think about making it fly higher and faster. First teach it how to survive in the harshest environment." His words woke me up. I began adding more fault tolerance and adaptive logic to the algorithm, allowing it to behave like a true living organism, capable of making optimal decisions independently based on environmental changes. Gradually, the way the project team looked at me changed completely. They no longer called me Comrade Wen, but respectfully called me Engineer Wen. I was no longer the shadow following closely behind Lu Feng, wearing oil-stained fatigues, with my hair casually tied back. I ate cafeteria food with a group of rough men, discussing the latest technical challenges. I became thinner and darker, but my eyes grew brighter. I felt like a seed that had been dormant for 10 years, finally breaking through the soil in this barren but free land of Windblade Post. Facing the wind, growing wildly, Lu Feng found Windblade Post the day before the first test flight of the Red Dawn drone. A military helicopter landed abruptly on the outpost's helipad without any notification. The powerful airflow stirred up sand and gravel, which pelted the windows with a crackling sound. I was in the lab doing final checks when I was startled by the noise and frowned. Lin Ran rushed in from outside, his face grim. "Headquarters is here." My heart skipped a beat. By the time we reached the helipad, the helicopter door had already opened. Lu Feng, dressed in black special operations gear, jumped out of the aircraft. He was followed by 2 fully armed guards. He was thinner, with dark circles under his eyes, but his gaze was sharp as a knife. His eyes scanned past everyone else and locked onto me. In that instant, I felt like I was back in the past, the Wen Xiu who would become flustered with just one look from him. But in just a second, I regained my composure. Commander Liu. Windblade Post is a military restricted area. Your helicopter landed without permission, which violates the confidentiality regulations. Lin Ran stepped forward, standing in front of me with neither servility nor arrogance. Lu Feng didn't even look at him. Walking straight toward me, his presence was so strong that the surrounding soldiers involuntarily took a step back. He stopped in front of me. He looked at me, at the oil-stained fatigues I was wearing, at my lips, chapped by the wind, and his brow furrowed even deeper. Haven't you had enough nonsense? His voice was hoarse, with a hint of suppressed anger. Come back with me. I looked at him as if I were looking at a stranger. Reporting. Commander Liu. This is my workstation. Please do not interfere with my mission. My voice was calm, without a trace of emotion. Lu Feng's pupils contracted sharply. He probably didn't expect me to speak to him in such a businesslike tone. Wen Xiu. He took a step forward, trying to grab my hand. Lin Ran quickly reached out his arm, blocking him. Commander Liu, please have some respect. Lin Ran's voice turned cold. Wen Gong is now with my reconnaissance company and is carrying out a top-secret mission. If you have something to discuss, please apply to the military region through the proper channels. Who do you think you are? Get out of my way. Lu Feng was completely enraged and pushed Lin Ran aside. He stared at me intently, his eyes bloodshot. Are you really going to be this stubborn with me? Just for a little bit of recognition, you're willing to ruin our 10 years of relationship. Do you even know what I've been going through these past few months? Lu Feng. I interrupted him. I raised my head and met his gaze. Your achievements, your feelings, your life. None of it has anything to do with me anymore. I looked at him, enunciating each word. I'm very busy right now. I don't have time to play these romantic games with you. With that, I turned to look at Lin Ran, a genuine smile appearing on my face for the first time in months. Team Leader Lin. Machine check complete. Flight control system self-test normal. Ready for flight test. My smile was like a needle, piercing sharply into Lu Feng's eyes. He looked at me, at the tacit understanding and familiarity between Lin Ran and me, the color draining from his face bit by bit. He probably had never seen me like this before. Confident, decisive, radiating a light he had never witnessed. That light did not belong to him, nor would it shine for him again. Wen Xiu. He murmured my name, a hint of pleading in his voice. I ignored him and walked towards the lab, side by side with Lin Ran. Behind us, the roar of the helicopter propellers and the sound of a heart shattering completely. Lu Feng eventually left dejectedly. He wanted to take me away by force. But Lin Ran raised the outpost's alert level to the highest. Dozens of armed soldiers surrounded the helicopter, creating a tense atmosphere. After a half-hour standoff, Lu Feng received a phone call and boarded the plane with a livid expression. Before leaving, he gave me a deep look through the porthole. That look was as complex as a net, filled with anger, unwillingness, and a hint of something I couldn't understand. Panic. The farce did not affect the flight test the next day. In the early morning, before dawn, everyone at the Windblade outpost gathered on a flat piece of land in the Gobi Desert. The Crimson Sky drone stood quietly on the launch pad, its silver-gray body gleaming coldly in the morning light. It resembled a falcon poised for flight, full of power, I stood in front of the control console, performing the final checks. Lin Ran stood beside me, patted me on the shoulder, and said, "Don't be nervous. I believe in you." I nodded, took a deep breath, and pressed the launch button. Crimson sky. Launch. With a low rumble, the drone took off, like a silver lightning bolt, piercing straight into the sky. Everyone looked up, holding their breath. On the control console screen, the various data streams refreshed rapidly. Altitude, 5,000 meters. Speed, 300 kilometers per hour. Signal, stable. Engage autonomous cruise mode. I commanded. On the screen, the drone's transmitted image was clear and smooth, showing even a wild rabbit running on the ground. "Great! It's a success!" The crowd erupted in thunderous cheers. Soldiers threw their hats into the air, hugging each other, celebrating this hard-won victory. I looked at the silver figure soaring freely in the clouds on the screen, and my eyes grew hot. This is more than just a drone. This is my rebirth. Lin Ran came over and picked me up, spinning me around several times. "We succeeded. Chiyu. We succeeded." He laughed like a child, the sunlight on his face more dazzling than the Gobi sun. I was dizzy from his spinning, but couldn't help but laugh along. At that moment, all the hardship and grievances vanished. I had never felt so relaxed and happy. This was the respect and joy I had earned through my own ability. The test flight lasted 75 hours, far exceeding the expected 72 hours. When Qishao landed smoothly on the runway, the entire project team was ecstatic. This meant that we had filled the domestic gap in the field of long-endurance unmanned reconnaissance in high-altitude areas. The news spread like wildfire to the military region headquarters. The success of the Qishao project caused a huge sensation at headquarters. Wen Shiyu, the woman who, in everyone's eyes, had ruined her promising career for love and was exiled to the frontier, became the focus of the entire military region overnight. Those who had pitied me, felt sorry for me, and laughed at me were all dumbfounded. They couldn't understand how a life assistant who only knew how to revolve around a man could lead such an important military project in just a few months. My files were retrieved, first in my major at the National University of Defense Technology, a core member of national scientific research projects. Those glories that had been sealed for 10 years shone again. People finally realized that I was not a vine clinging to Lu Feng, but an oak tree that could grow into a towering tree. It was just for love that I willingly restrained all my brilliance. Headquarters held a grand commendation ceremony for the Qishao project. Lin Ran and I, as project leaders, were specially approved to return to headquarters to attend. It was the same familiar auditorium, only this time, I went from the audience to the stage. As I walked onto the podium in my brand new junior officer uniform, looking heroic and spirited, I could feel countless complex gazes from below the stage. There was shock, envy, and jealousy. I saw my former colleagues, and the expressions on their faces were wonderful. I also saw Su Qing. She sat in the front row, her face pale, and her eyes were filled with guilt and disbelief as she looked at me. She probably finally understood what that third-class merit she had taken away meant to me. That wasn't just a small medal. It was my trampled professionalism, my decade of dedication ignored. The award was presented by the Army commander, Lin Ran's father, a stern old general with an imposing aura. He personally pinned a second-class merit citation onto my chest. "Comrade Wen Shiyu, thank you for your outstanding contributions to the country and the Army." His voice was loud and strong. "You are a role model for all our young officers." I straightened my back and gave a standard military salute. "Serve the people." Flashes of light burst everywhere, recording this glorious moment. I subconsciously searched the crowd for that familiar figure. Lu Feng wasn't there. I heard he had voluntarily applied for confinement. He had locked himself up ever since returning from the Gale Blade outpost. No one knew what he was thinking. After the commendation ceremony, there was a celebratory banquet. I became the center of attention, with countless people raising their glasses to toast me, uttering all sorts of flattering words. I handled it flawlessly, a proper smile on my face. But my heart remained utterly calm. This recognition that I once desperately craved, now that I had it, seemed like nothing much. Lin Ran was constantly by my side, quietly deflecting many unnecessary social engagements for me. Not used to it, he asked softly. I shook my head. Just find it meaningless. He smiled. Then let's go. It'll take you somewhere interesting. He pulled me away, slipping out of the banquet hall filled with clinking glasses and jovial chatter. He took me to a small hillside behind the military district. From here, you could overlook the entire brightly lit military compound. When I was little, whenever my dad beat me, I'd come here by myself. Lin Ran handed me a can of beer. You see, looking down from here, those tall buildings, those power struggles, all become so small, so meaningless. I pulled open the ring and took a sip. The icy liquid slid down my throat, with a hint of bitterness, but it was refreshing. Thank you, Lin Ran, I said softly, looking at the distant lights. What are you thanking me for? Thank you for helping me rediscover myself. Lin Ran looked at me, his eyes gentle as water in the moonlight. Chiyu, it wasn't me who helped you find yourself, he said. You were already excellent. I just happened to brush away the dust that had settled on you. I smiled, my eyes a little moist. Yes. This is how I should have been all along. Lu Feng watched my commendation ceremony from the confinement room through an internal broadcast. On the screen, I was wearing a crisp military uniform, a shining metal pin to my chest, my eyes firm, radiant with light. Lin Ran, tall and handsome, stood beside me, his eyes filled with undisguised admiration and affection. They stood together like two poplars standing shoulder to shoulder. So well matched, so harmonious. Lu Feng's heart felt like it was being gripped tightly by an invisible hand, the pain making it hard to breathe. Only then did he belatedly realize what he had lost. What he lost wasn't just a nanny who could cook porridge for him and take care of his life. What he lost was a soulmate who could have stood shoulder to shoulder with him at the pinnacle of the world. He pushed her away with his own hands. With his own hands, he broke her wings. And then, when she regrew them and was ready to fly high, he tried to drag her back into the cage again. How ridiculous. How tragic. After the confinement, Su Qing's father, the stern Commander Lin, personally spoke with him. In the office, Commander Lin slammed a document in front of him. Lu Feng, you've disappointed me too much. The document was about me. It detailed the astonishing talent and outstanding abilities I had demonstrated in the Project Red Cloud. At the end of the assessment report, there was a handwritten comment by a General Staff Department expert. This person is worth 3 divisions. Because of your ridiculous personal feelings and terrible judgment, we almost lost a strategic talent forever. Commander Lin's voice was filled with anger. Are you worthy of the star on your shoulder? Are you worthy of the country's cultivation of you? Lu Feng lowered his head, not saying a word. He was unable to refute. From today on, all your command authority is temporarily revoked. Commander Lin looked at him, his eyes filled with deep disappointment. Reflect on yourself. Come back to me when you've figured it out. Lu Feng's career, for the first time, hit an icy wall, and this wall was built by his own hands. He started calling and texting me frantically, but my phone number had long been changed. He went to my old office, to our old apartment, to all the places we had once been, but there was no sign of me anywhere. He was like a drowning man desperately trying to grab the life-saving straw, only to find that the straw had already been burned by his own hands. He finally tasted what heartbreak felt like. What it meant to regret not acting sooner. Lynn ran and I stayed at headquarters for a week, handling the follow-up handover of Project Red Cloud. This week, I lived a fulfilling life. Every day, I attended meetings with the country's top experts, discussing the future direction of technology and participating in the development of the next generation of drones. I found that when I poured all my energy into the career I loved, the sense of accomplishment and satisfaction was incomparable to any love. The night before leaving headquarters and returning to the Windblade outpost, Lynn Ran asked me out to dinner. Not in some high-end restaurant, but at a roadside food stall. We ordered kebabs and beer. And like two ordinary young people, we sat on plastic stools and chatted about everything under the sun. "What are your plans for the next step?" Lynn Ran asked. "Complete the mass production and deployment of Red Cloud. And then I want to get a doctorate," I said. "Drone swarm operations and artificial intelligence decision-making are the future." Lynn Ran looked at me, his eyes sparkling. What a coincidence. I also want to apply for an on-the-job doctorate at the National Defense University, majoring in future battlefield command system. We smiled at each other. Everything was understood without words. Halfway through the meal, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, but still answered it. On the other end of the phone, there was a long silence. Then, a hoarse voice, one that I was familiar with to the bone, sounded. "Sure you." "It's me." It was Lu Feng. I don't know where he got my new number from. I didn't say anything. I watched your commendation ceremony." His voice was full of exhaustion and pain. You were dazzling. You've lost weight. I'm sorry." "Sure you. Can we go back to the past?" he asked almost humbly. I held the phone, looking at the bustling street in front of me, the traffic flowing, people coming and going. "Go back to the past." I smiled. "Commander Liu," I said calmly, "people have to look forward. The road of the past, whether good or bad, can't be returned to. I have something to do. I'll hang up first." After saying that, I hung up the phone decisively, and then blacklisted him again. Lynn Ran had been watching me quietly. "Is everything settled?" I nodded, raised the beer can in my hand. A toast to the past. He also raised his beer can and clinked it against mine. A toast to the future. 1 year later, Northwest Theater. An unprecedented joint military exercise is underway. As the technical commander of the Blue Team, I stood in the command module, staring at the huge electronic sand table. Beside me was the commander of the Blue Team, Lynn Ran. After a year of hard work, the Chixiao drone swarm I developed has become the sharpest blade in the hands of the Blue Team. Swarm 1 is ready. Target the Red Team's headquarters. Requesting authorization to attack. Authorize. I calmly issued the order. On the screen, hundreds of small drones, like a swarm of angry wasps, swarmed towards the Red Team's position. 3 minutes later, the signal that the Red Team's headquarters had been decapitated came. The Blue Team wins. The command module was filled with jubilation. After the exercise, the General Command conducted a review. As a technical expert, I went on stage to report. I wore a crisp military uniform, confidently expounding on the concept of future informationized warfare. Halfway through my presentation, I looked up and scanned the audience. In the corner of the last row, I saw a familiar figure. It was Lu Feng. He was thinner and more silent than he had been a year ago. He wasn't wearing a general's uniform, just ordinary training clothes, without any rank on his shoulders. He sat there quietly, looking up at me on the stage. Our eyes met. In his eyes, There was pain, regret, nostalgia, and a hint of resignation. I nodded slightly to him, not forgiveness, nor a greeting, just a calm farewell to the past. Then, I turned my head and continued my report. My world was no longer just about him. My world was the stars and the sea, the motherland's vast borders, and the technological peaks waiting for me to conquer. After the report, I stepped down from the stage. Lin Ran was waiting for me below. He reached out his hand to me, his face with a familiar, sunny smile. Well done, Dr. Wen. I put my hand in his palm and walked out of the auditorium with him side by side. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. The future has only just begun. Dear, could you please rate this story in the comments section? On a scale of 10, please. If you like this kind of story, please follow,